Suicide bombings by children in Nigeria and neighboring countries have increased tenfold in just 1 year. Now, the UN's children's agency, UNICEF, says Boko Haram militants are increasingly kidnapping children as well as brainwashing them to carry out attacks. Most of the bombings have happened in Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, and Niger. And in 2014, there were 4 suicide bombings by children, but last year, that shot up to 44. 75% of the bombers were children kidnapped by the Boko Haram militant group, and half of all suicide bombers in Cameroon last year were children. Well, June Porter is the chief of communications for UNICEF in Nigeria. She says the surge in child bombers is causing division and mistrust.
It's clearly a terror tactic by Boko Haram. It has certainly increased the atmosphere of fear and distrust in the area. It's also a tactic that makes it easier because obviously people can look at, people have been more suspicious of men walking into crowded places. People have been less suspicious traditionally of women and children. So it's been easier for them to get into places without being challenged by security forces. However, of course, that is changing now. It's having a terrible, terrible impact on children who have escaped from Boko Haram or children who've been liberated as areas have been liberated. They are treated, ordinary children who've been held by Boko Haram are treated with high levels of suspicion, mistrust by their communities. They very often find themselves isolated by their communities because people think that they may turn against them, that they may cause them harm because they have been held by Boko Haram and because other children have been used in this way as bombers.
All right, let's get more on this now with our Fidelis Emba, who joins us in the studio with more. Fidelis, you just heard June Porter there. I want your sense, your take on it. How serious is the problem?
Well, this is actually causing a whole lot of panic, especially in northern Nigeria, where these attacks have been, carried out more often than other parts of Chad, Niger, or Cameroon. Because before now, Boko Haram were targeting, using car bombs to carry out attacks, which, some men would either carry out bomb attacks or maybe they come and explode in crowded areas. Then the security closed in on them. After that, women in flowing gowns and hijab, because it's very rare for security men to search women. And there were very few security women at security checkpoints. So these women passed with ease. Boko Haram infiltrated some of them, and then they started these bombings. And then now with children, it's getting worrisome because rather than show love to these children, especially like maybe children who have been rescued from communities that were run over by Boko Haram, right now people are treating them with so much suspicion, which is actually really a dangerous trend.
So security forces are actually having trouble in keeping up with the changing of tactic by Boko Haram, that is.
Yes, because as the security people are actually closing in on them, on their tactics, they are also trying to devise other means of increasing attacks. Because in recent weeks, the security men, especially in Nigeria, have made some gains in terms of recovering lost territories, in terms of rescuing hostages, in terms of killing some Boko Haram fighters, and also recovering their arms and ammunition. And same in Cameroon, where they've also been trying to close in on them. Chad has also, and then Niger, have tightened their borders. So it's something like no one knows next what they're going to come up with. Now that they're targeting children using them, and these children, out of innocence, they might just carry this as maybe just a toy or something, because some of them are as young as 5 or 6.
All right, we thank you for that analysis.